Thinking about driving an EV, buying an EV, but worried that maybe this regen braking that everybody raves about might not be the sort of driving experience you're after. You don't want the experience of like driving a Dodgem car and lurching backwards and forwards into the seat. Well, if that's you, then this video is made to answer that question for you. So I was worried about this. I've seen many videos about regen braking and the virtues of it, but I wanted to know what it was really like before deciding to jump in and buy an electric car. So what I did last weekend, I hired a Tesla Model 3 for the weekend and took it for a thorough drive and really tested out this regen braking. And I'm glad to say that it's not at all like driving a Dodgem car. In fact, it's really quite good once your brain adjusts a little bit to it. So, how does it actually work, and what's the difference between the regen braking on, say, a Tesla compared to the way an electric motor works in a Dodgem car? Let's just have a quick look at the electrical diagram for these two vehicles and you'll see straight away what the difference is. So these are very simplified drawings of an electric motor being driven by a battery. The first one here is the circuit diagram you would see typically for a Dodgem car. And so what you can see is the batteries, you can see the motor, and in the circuit there is a simple switch, and that switch is either on or it's off. So in your Dodgem car, when you put your foot down on the accelerator or the pedal, put the pedal to the metal and that switch closes and there's energy running to the motor and it drives forward. It only has one speed. The motor can only go either full on or full off. So when you put your foot down on the pedal, your car starts to move and it pretty much moves at a constant speed. There's a little bit of acceleration at the start, but then it just maintains a constant speed. When you take your foot off the accelerator, you open the circuit, the motor's de-energized, it's basically going nowhere, and your Dodgem car pulls up pretty quick because, well, hey, there's a lot of friction in a Dodgem car. So, you know, you're either going or you're stopping, or you're stopping fast, and that's why you lurch out of the seat. Now, if we look at this second circuit, this is the oversimplified diagram of what an electric vehicle would look like. There's a lot more electronics in it than just this, but this is all we need to know when we consider regen braking. So in this circuit you can see that we've replaced that switch with a variable resistor or a rheostat. So how this works is that when you push your foot on the pedal, you're basically allowing more current to flow through the circuit, and when you back off the pedal, you're restricting the amount of current that can flow through that circuit. And what that does is it makes the engine go faster or slower, and consequently the car goes faster or slower. But the important difference here is that this is infinitely variable. So, you know, it's an analog system, and wherever you put your foot on the pedal, that's how much juice is going to go to the motor and how fast it's going to accelerate. Or conversely, if you back off, it will decelerate because of the way the other complex circuitry that's not shown here that results in energy going back from the motor into the battery. And that's where you get the braking from. So here, when you're driving this, I can see now why people rave about it, because it takes a little while for your brain to adjust to it, but once it has, you automatically just work the gas pedal as much as you need to control the speed of the car. And so when you're cruising, let's say, and you come up to an intersection, you need to slow, and ordinarily in a normal car you would take your foot off the accelerator and put it on the brake pedal. With the regen braking, you simply just back off the accelerator, and that then starts to de-energize the motor and starts to create braking in the system, and the car it slows down substantially. And in fact, if you back right off, it will stop and it'll just stay put where it is at the intersection, similar to how it would be with brakes. So when you're driving this car, you don't normally, except when you want to stop, take your foot right off the pedal. You normally have your foot pushing down on the pedal to some extent, just to maintain the velocity of the vehicle when you're cruising. Now you might say, well, that's a bit of a nuisance having to have your foot on the pedal all the time, but when you think about it, you've got to rest your right foot somewhere, right? And so the gas pedal is the most logical place to have it anyway. And of course it has cruise control, so you know, if you want to, when you're on the highway, you would engage the cruise control or autopilot, and you no longer have to press the pedal. I'm really talking about here when you're driving around town. And driving around town, it's excellent because you know, you learn how to work the pedal so that the car is either maintaining constant velocity, accelerating or decelerating, and it just depends really where your foot is on the pedal. So that's basically all there is to it. That's the magic behind it. It's certainly not a disadvantage to driving an electric vehicle. Some people really rave about it. I guess I would probably say it's a great feature to have if you do a lot of around town driving. I live out of town, in a country town, so traffic's not a real issue. But I still think that once I got used to it, it would be great. And I am indeed intending to buy an electric car, and so I suppose I'll get better at working that particular feature. But it is a feature, it is a benefit, and you don't need to worry about the Dodgem car feeling. So I hope this has been useful information. Have a great day and enjoy your driving.